Trial.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Will and Rock MMA podcast.
What's going on, everyone? Hope you guys had a great week. We have a couple of things to talk about today. We're going to be discussing UFC Fight Night 137, tons of great fights, free with on FS1, which can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's a great fight.
But let's get started with some news. So, Tyrone Woodley, he was somewhat aimed to fight at UFC 30 with Colby Covington. But due to, granted, that was still a rumor. It was a bit of a toss-up.
Right. Nothing wasn't concrete. There was no sign.
Nothing was
sign
confirmed.
Right.
Tyrone Woodley happens to. He needs surgery on his hand. Something is not right in his hand, whether it's broken or whatever the case may be. Really didn't read much into it. We do know that he's out for 8 to 12 weeks. Something we just posted on our Instagram as well. Downer, because I think he's in the right momentum to just go back in the octagon and beat the Bojangles out of Colby Covington. If it happens. I mean, granted, Colby Covington is a beast, and let's not take that away from him. But at the end of the day, we're not going to see that in MSG. Not happening.
Yeah, you know what? As a champion, you need to take your time. You need to fix any injuries that you have and come back more stronger than ever. So I'm pissed off that it didn't happen because I'm dying to see the fight between him and Colby Covington, but hey, I could wait another year for that. There's a lot of fights coming up that I'm also very interested about. So it is what it is, man.
Yeah. So this is very interesting. For the featherweight title, flyweight. I'm sorry, it's the flyweight title versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah.
You cannot ask for a better fight than that. I think Valentina Shevchenko. I guess the UFC is trying to put her in a position to win. And I think I almost felt like the UFC almost knew that she was going to beat Montana. That Montana ended up getting injured. She had forced to vacate her belt. Now that flyweight division on the UFC is still tossed up. Keep in mind that Montana won, coming off the Ultimate Fighter. And that's the way she was granted the belt, because whoever won towards the end ended up getting the belt because there was no division as of yet.
Right.
Now that the division's open,
you couldn't put two of the better fighters there
Joanna,
without a doubt.
Valentina,
Joanna Jędrzejczyk and both Valentina Shevchenko are by far the best at their weight class. And by the weight class, I mean flyweight, because we know Rosa Mananunas just dismantled Joanna back-to-back fights. So it's perfect for Joanna to go down in weight and take this fight against Shevchenko. And that's one of the best women's fight that I'm really looking forward to, besides the Cyborg versus Nunes. But kudos to both of them, because at this point they're going to end up with somebody's going to end up with the belt.
The great thing about both of those fighters is they're such complete fighters. I mean, and they're known to be on their feet. None of them are ready to necessarily go to the ground.
And this is why I think this fight is going to be very interesting for Joanna, because coming off of a loss to Rosa, back-to-back, should I say, no, she actually won her last fight. Didn't look as dominant as she looked before she was fighting Rose.
Oh, that's right.
Tasha Torres? Did she beat Tasha Torres? She beat Tasha Torres. You're completely right. I just wonder what Joanna's going to get into that octagon, and because every time Shevchenko gets into that octagon, she displays the best MMA there is, or stand-up, should I say, there is in that weight class. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen between those two.
All right, so one of the biggest news that's literally out right now. This is not a rumor. This is a confirmed thing. USADA ends up giving John Jones a 15th-month retroactive to his suspension, which allows him to be able to fight at UFC 230 in MSG. The rumored fight behind that is that Alexander Gustafsson will be fighting John Jones at UFC 230 MSG. You headline that bitch, son.
You have to headline that. Besides the fact that the GOAT is literally back into this octagon, we're talking the New Yorker. He grew up in upstate New York, but that's his hometown. They're running this back again in MSG. They couldn't pick a better opponent than Alexander Gustafsson, especially with the performance that John Jones put up last time they fought, which was one of the closest fights John Jones ever had, if not the closest fight he's ever had in his career. It's interesting as well because he's coming out of a big layoff. On top of that, he's gained some weight, gained some muscle, doing a lot of powerlifting. never stopped training, because I know we follow him on Instagram, but you could see him he's still following the same regimens when he was training back in the days. I'm very interested to see what type of John Jones. Is he going to lose some speed because he's gained some muscle, or is he going to give you the same speed he's always giving you, but this time he's going for a knockout? It's so interesting. Not to mention Gustafsson, who has been performing as of late tremendously. One of the great lightweight light heavyweight fighters there is right now. So I'm very interested to see how this will come out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, man. Really looking forward to it. On a sad note, for MMA fans, we had Glenn Robinson, one of the trainers in the Blackzilians.
He's actually the founder. He's actually the founder of the Blackzilians, who, as you know, has Rashard Evans. You had Michael Johnson.
Anthony Rumble Johnson.
One of the biggest names in UFC. It's unfortunate that he passed away on a heart attack. This just happened last Wednesday. And my condolences to him and his family. And the same thing goes for
the kid Yamamoto. Kid Yamamoto also passed away last week due to cancer, and that's
it's sad because only 42 years old. He gave us so much, both in Pride, in Bushido, and he even fought in the UFC.
He did fight in the UFC, and he was a legend. And if you really dig into him, everyone has so many great things to say about the guy. He was a legend, and he was a mentor to a lot of these fighters. We're talking about Uriah Faber. BJ Penn came out and just said how much of a great human being he was, and how much they trained together. So people just really had a following, a liking for this man. And unfortunately, the MMA world ended up losing another legend in Kei Yamamoto. All right, guys.
Before we get to the fights, I want to just touch on a little bit, because the press conference between McGregor and Khabib just happened. What's your takes on that?
Oh my God, man! It's so tough to say. So first of all, McGregor's back to his goddamn old ways, right? Which is what sells fights. It's what he brings. It's the promotion. Just finished signing a 6-fight deal with the UFC. There's actually rumors that it's between 6 or 8 fights that he signed. But with that contract, he actually just wanted for them to promote his whiskey. So the UFC said that, on the mat, on the octagon, they're gonna display the whiskey that
they'll do anything for that guy. They'll do anything for that guy. He is the numbers.
He runs the company. He runs the company.
It's funny because he comes in with the same attitude that he always comes in. He always delivers on these press conferences. You could put anybody in front of him, he's gonna deliver.
So let me give you my full take on this before you go into it, because I know you have so much to say about it too. I always say McGregor beats people before they go into the octagon. He's known that. It's almost like a Floyd Mayweather. Just ruins your psyche before you go into fighting, and then all of a sudden you're stuck with somebody who you're like, oh my God, he's more than life, and you start respecting him in a different, and then you end up losing terribly. Jose Aldo, Eddie Alvarez, you can name them down the line, top fighters that he's beat before he got into that octagon. So with that being said, it looked in Khabib's face that he wasn't 100% there, but then again, you don't know with that man. That man has never been the one to talk too much trash. That man has been the one that goes into the octagon and proves people wrong over and over again. He is by far what I've considered the deadliest fighter in that division, and that says a lot because Conor McGregor is yet to lose, or at least lose in that division. It's so hard to tell. From my perspective, just from looking at Khabib already looks like. All of a sudden, I was like, man, there's no way Khabib is gonna lose this fight. Now I'm saying to myself, man, am I doubting? I don't want to be that guy that doubts, like you know how we doubt Tyron Woodley sometimes, and we're like,
Cormier,
and then
Woodley, Stipe Miocic. It's like all these fighters that you doubt, and all of a sudden they come out
and then they're like, oh, guys, don't forget I'm a champion. Like that's one of the things they constantly do. So, anyways, that was my take on that.
I do agree with you. I mean, let's get Conor McGregor. Goddamn, delivers every single time, no matter what opponent they put in front of him. He's gonna get those sales without a doubt. And what's more interesting about it is how Khabib handled that whole situation. He was just overpowered by McGregor. McGregor, he even Khabib put on Instagram like, I'm gonna be fighting a drunk, pretty much, because he was probably drunk with his whiskey that he was drinking before getting there. But he turns into an animal. McGregor turns into an animal. He doesn't want He doesn't want you to talk. He doesn't want. You don't have an opinion to him, and he just completely overwhelms you with a whole bunch of what he considers to be facts. And he just continues throwing at you, and it kind of seemed like again back to what you're saying. You can't really read Khabib, but you're like, damn, is this guy really eating all these punches right now before the actual fight? Very interesting press conference. I'm more curious to see how the next press conference would be because they are promoting it. I don't know if they're going to go around the world doing this necessarily, but they're most likely going to hit Vegas. I wonder if they're going to hit another country in the process of this press conference. I'm very interested to see what Khabib, not so much McGregor, because we know what McGregor brings every time he comes to a press conference. What Khabib is going to show up next time now that he technically lost that 10-8. Legit lost the 10-8. But anyways, bro, let's get back to this.
Imagine when they actually get to the last press conference for the fight. Khabib was don't know where to put his face at. You know, it's only so much facial expressions you can make in front of a camera. All right, guys. So enough with the news. We're gonna go straight into UFC Fight Night 137,
which is happening this Saturday, by the way.
Yes, it's happening this Saturday.
Tomorrow. We can literally say it's tomorrow.
Yeah, we can literally say that it's tomorrow.
We'll be posting this tomorrow. So
we got Ronda Marcos versus Maria Rodriguez.
I don't know too much of these two fighters, to be honest, so I'm not even going to put my 2 cents in there. I will say, just to throw a name out there, I say Rodriguez wins by decision.
I got Marcos. Same thing, I guess. I feel the same way you do. I don't know these fighters much, so I can't really speak on them. Next fight, which I'm really looking forward to, Hendo Barao is fighting Andre Ewell.
I'm a little like on the edge here. If it's the same Renan Barao that we've gotten when he had the title, he's gonna win. There's no doubt about it in my mind. He hasn't been performing at his best as of late, and people are, alleging that it was because he got off the steroids and because of this new USADA testing. He's been backing up a little bit, and he hasn't been performing as well. With that being said, you cannot take away talent. I don't care how much steroids you use. Now that he's performed in a couple of fights already without it, if so, not to say that he did, but if so, I believe that Renan Barao has this fight win over Ewell.
I have it the same way. I think if we get the same Renan Barao that we know and we've seen and we love, with steroids, without steroids at this point, there's no option. He will be fighting without steroids in this fight. He looks like he's the bigger name coming into this fight. He's what's considered to be a better fighter, but then again, we'll see how that plays out.
You want to call around because I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if he either wins by knockout in the second round or this also goes to decision for him.
I say he wins in the third round. I think he's going to play extremely safe, which he's been doing a lot. But I mean, it's not to his credit, but to his will, and hopefully this actually does happen, is that he really takes it up towards the second and third round and really finishes towards the ending of the third. So we'll see how that plays out for him. Any input? You're saying I got decision. You got a decision, Hannah. Yeah. Sam Alvey is fighting the legend Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira.
Now, I don't even know what to say about this anymore. They are fighting in Brazil. We have to remember that. So, of course, they have to put big names. Right, they have to put big names on these cards. He's definitely one of them. It's the reason why most likely this is going to be a sell-off crowd. You have a guy like Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. He was always known as the second twin, right? Because Minotauro is the real big guy. Rodrigo is the guy that, came in after,
was more of a boxer, wasn't so much of a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu type of guy either.
Right. I don't see a living chance in hell that he will win this fight. I think Alvey is going to knock him out like has a lot of people, unfortunately. And you could kind of see it before he gets into the octagon that he looks like he already lost. If you look at his face, it's unfortunate, but
that's fucked up.
But it's the truth, and it's unfortunate, and we hope that he probably considers retiring. I really do.
These both brothers, both Minotauro and both Rodrigo, they're legends to the sport. Not just for the UFC, man. These guys have been fighting since they were little. They were brought up in the fighting game. They've done so much for Brazilian MMA, let alone for MMA as a whole, that it's time to hang it up. And I'm happy that the UFC is giving them jobs in the UFC. They run their own gyms, both separate gyms in Sao Paulo, Brazil. They just do so much for the MMA world. So good luck to Antonio Rodrigo. I don't see him winning. I say Sam Alvey will win this fight. That's just it sounds like the way to go. Next fight, we got Alex Oliveira versus Carlos Pedestria Jr. I would like to think that Oliveira will win by submission. And if I'm not mistaken, I should have looked into this before this fight, but I believe that he might break, if he not already broke a record for so many submissions in the octagon, he's probably going to do it this time around. He's the beast when he gets to the floor. He figures out a way to get you in a triangle. He figures out a way to get you in a chokehold, in a guillotine, armbar, whatever the hell he could get his hands on. He's going to take it and he's going to run with it. And because of that, I believe he's going to get the submission done. I would say second round max. Alex Oliveira, I got Alex Oliveira winning this fight by knockout, actually. Oliveira is very unpredictable. It's what makes him so dangerous. And because people predict he's going to take him down, he will be standing up. My personal prediction. So we both, at the end of the day, we seem like we're getting the same fighters. Next fight, we got Thiago Santos. By the way, sorry guys, main event. This is the main event. We got Thiago Santos versus Eric Anders. And this is one of those fights that is just explosive because they both have both knockout power with their hands and feet. We know that Thiago Santos is an absolute animal. The dude has a freaking tattoo of a hammer on his chest because he is a hammer when he punches, man. And then you have someone who just came off a came out of a TKO in the third round with like 12 seconds to go. Eric Anders,
craziest knockouts ever.
One of the craziest, well-timed knockouts of all time, I would say, because it was still. It could have been, but he was on his way up at the end of the day. Long story short, who do I really have in this fight? I think Anders took this fight way too short notice. I think he just came off a victory that he fought all 3 rounds and took a lot out of him. He's a young guy, which is what I give him, but I think the more experienced Thiago Santos is going to win this fight. Am I going to say that he's going to win by TKO, bro? I am so clueless to what's going to happen in this fight because I feel like they're both going to have tons of respect for each other in that first round, and that's going to predict the fight throughout.
I agree with you in the fact that I feel Thiago Santos will win this fight, and I agree with you as well that Eric Anders took this fight way too short notice. On top of that, coming out of it wasn't just like a 3-fight round before he knocked out his opponent, Eric Anders, but he took a pounding all 3 rounds before he got the knockout. So because of that, I believe his coming in, there were a little bit of screws loose enough where Thiago Santos will catch him in the second or third round and call it a knockout. And again, back to what you're saying.
I would totally not be surprised.
He has hammer hands.
He got hammer hands. I think experience in this fight is gonna win, and that's the reason why I have Thiago Santos winning.
But with that being said, Eric Anders will have a magnificent future in the UFC. He already started.
Win or lose, he has. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that there's gonna be so much more respect for a guy who took a fight last minute, knowing the war that he went through the last time he fought, even though he won once again late into the third round. So, anyways, guys, this is a wrap. Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, guys, thank you for the love we get on Instagram. Thanks for the love we're getting on YouTube. Continue to talk about it. The Will and Rock MMA podcast, both YouTube, Instagram, Twitter.
Peace.